dating abuse. Not a pretty sight.
A new and alarming study out today, and it reveals dating violence and abuse is rampant among college students.
This morning, we take a look at a new and disturbing study. CBS News correspondent Michelle Miller reports on the impact the economy is having on teenage dating abuse.
But it's more than just a guy physically hurting a woman. It can also be messing with their mind. It could be messing with their stuff. It could be going through your contacts and telling you, don't text these people, don't message these people.
A stunning 43% of college women surveyed say they've experienced some kind of violent or abusive dating behavior, including physical, sexual, verbal, controlling, or cyber abuse. 22% of college women report being the victim of actual physical or sexual abuse or threats of physical violence.
According to a study by Liz Claiborne in the Family Violence Prevention Fund, there is an increase in teen dating violence directly tied to the recession.
Families in economic distress are themselves experiencing higher rates of violence, and teens in those same households are also experiencing much higher rates of dating violence in their own relationships.
The study says nearly 1 in 3 teens report being victims of verbal, physical, or sexual abuse. Nearly 1 in 4 say they've been harassed via email or text messaging. And nearly half report being controlled, threatened, or pressured to do things against their will. That's what happened to Whitley Ann.
He came to mind.
Most of the time, people think that it's just men who abuse women. No. It's women abusing men as well. And most of the studies think that, oh, it's just in teens. No. Way worse. It continues on. There are stories of people getting arrested, abused in the news pretty much every day.
New York City, the information is out there, and there are great people like yourself who are trying to get it to these students early, middle school, and high school age especially.
It's not mandated to be taught. We're working with a lot of other people to get it mandated in all states to be taught in middle and high schools, but it's not being taught. And parents, it's not on their radar screens.
But that sounds insane to me, only because, again, we do stories all the time. This person arrested for beating his wife, or this person allegedly slapping his. It's in the news all the time.
It is in the news, but parents know that they have to talk about drugs and sex and alcohol, but this is just one of those things that they're not sure they have to talk about, and when they do think they have to talk about it, they don't know what to say. And that's why these are people who don't have, there's a lot of resources particularly for teens, there's a lot of resources particularly for adults. Yeah. There's very few particularly for that age
group. And to your point, a lot of the information college women receive, and I got this information when I went to school as well, is about date rape. You get information about that, but not how to handle these relationships. And for a lot of college women, this is the first big relationship away from your parents, out of the home, that you're handling in a sense on your own.
Yep. And one of the shocking statistics for me, actually, was that 57% of both men and women who were in dating relationships said that this abuse happened on the college campus. So that was pretty intense.
It needs to stop. If you see someone being abused, get help. Find an adult. Find someone who can help. Because it's not good. People have died. I'd rather see a lot more people live than what's happening now.
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie.
You've got tips this morning for both teens and parents. Let's start with your tips for teens. You say number 1, talk to someone you feel close to.
Right, and this could be a teenage friend, it could be an adult, it could be a parent, a relative, or a guidance counselor. Express to them what's going on, what your concerns are, because if you don't tell anyone, you can't get help.
Is it the hope that that person will then have the courage to, like, tell police or urge you to do something about it?
Exactly, or do an intervention of sorts.
Okay, the next tip is also for teens. You say, don't get in a dangerous situation.
Right, this is so important. You have to anticipate what logistical situations could arise that could be actually compromising and dangerous to your health. So do not go anywhere alone. Don't go into the woods, into a car with someone, into someone's home where there's no one else around. That is key. You always have to prepare for worst case scenario because it could be very dangerous.
But if that person is your boyfriend,
right, you just want to make sure that there are people around, especially if things are escalating and you think things are getting violent.
Got it. The next tip, also for teens, you tell them, don't blame yourself.
Right. You know what? People who are victims of domestic violence are victims. They didn't ask for it. It's not their fault. And that sense of blame can really add to the problem. And we see that in teens just as we do with adults.
Okay. Next tip is actually for parents. And you tell parents, look for warning signs. Like what?
Now, these can be subtle and tricky, Julie. They might be as simple as wearing different clothing. A lot of teens, just like adults who are abused or hurt, can wear clothing to conceal those bruises. So if it's warm weather and suddenly you're wearing sweatpants and long sleeve shirts, that might be a warning sign. Drastic change in behavior, someone who's normally happy and then starts crying all the time or withdraws from family and friends, those can be signs that something's going on.
Okay, and the last tip is for both teens and parents. You say they should keep the lines of communication open?
Right, so important. We need to stress to everyone here, starting at an early age, that the key to a healthy relationship is mutual respect. And we need to underscore here that although 85% of victims of domestic violence are women, the remaining 15% are men and boys, so let's not forget them as well. But explain to people that any relationship where there is violence and hurt and shame, whether it's emotional or physical, is not a healthy one.
It's wrong and it needs to be reported.
That's right, and we need to start educating our children about that before they get into those situations.
Dr. Jennifer Ashton, thanks so much.